So you know what defines being rich, wealthy?
I do not.
Generosity. I am wealthy. You know why? Because I have pledged and given money to these organizations. You go ask these billionaires who were sitting in the front row in Donald Trump's inauguration and ask them, how much money have they given to anything? Nothing. They only take care of themselves. These are the animals I'm talking about.
There's a saying that sometimes we save the best for last.
Right.
In my humble opinion, in this book of Wealth Score, I think one of the best chapters is chapter 8, which is where we are right now. And that's talking about generosity. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the world headquarters of Joy Score. Welcome to the Professor Joy podcast. Professor Joy is busy writing notes down because he must have some really important things he wants to share with us.
It's been a big week.
It has been a big week. My name is Gary Metzger. I am a journalism professor at California State University in Long Beach. I am joined by the ever wonderful Stephanie.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And the reason why we're all here today at the world headquarters, Professor Joy.
Thank you so much.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you so much.
Happy Father's Day to everybody
Yes,
around, right?
yourself included.
Myself included. Thank you.
So I wanted to start with how I got the name Professor Joy.
Okay.
Okay.
Gary gave it to me.
Aww.
A few years ago, he said, you're going to be Professor Joy.
No.
That's going to be a new name.
Okay.
And that's going to be your stage name.
I think it fits perfectly.
It
So
does.
I said, Gary, what is the stage name? He said, you never been to a strip joint? I said, he said, oh, the strippers have a stage name.
Oh, goodness.
I said, am I going to be a stripper now?
Oh,
He said,
brother.
no, you don't have to do
Yeah,
that.
no.
Just have this
Yeah,
stage.
yeah, that's not necessary. Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Although, I got to tell you this. So I ran into this guy who walked by me and having dinner with somebody.
Okay.
And he said, hey, I didn't recognize you with your clothes on.
Oh,
So
God.
the guy I'm having dinner with, he said, do you belong to a naked club or something? I said, no, I'm in Spa area. Everybody is naked walking.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness.
What a thing to say to somebody.
Yes,
I know.
I know. I know, especially when you're having dinner. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that is too funny. That is too funny.
So we
So,
get it, no? We go to the same gym,
We
same
do.
spa. And
yeah, same time,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes, he'll be taking a shower. I'll walk up to him and somebody says, hey, little distance, please.
Oh, my God. That is true. That is true. So, as Steffi said, this has been a busy week.
Yes.
There's been a lot going on. As you know, everybody, we're broadcasting live from Southern California, and there has been a lot of protests going on, and not a lot of them have been joyful at all.
It's so funny that Donald Trump is being at it for 15 years now, because he started when he started complaining about Obama not being a citizen and didn't have a birth certificate and all that stuff.
Correct.
But yesterday, I felt sorry for him.
No, you did not.
No, I did, because he was at his parade in Washington, D.C.,
That cost like $34 million.
and nobody showed up. So, and on top of that, everywhere in the country, they had no king protest.
Yes.
So the guy got so humiliated. I mean, I understand the guy is a worthless, stupid guy, but he's still our president, for God's sake. He got so poorly humiliated. I feel sorry for him.
Okay.
I mean,
Do you
by the way,
really feel sorry for him, or are you
well,
just saying that?
Do you think it was?
Do you really
deserved?
feel sorry for him,
No,
Professor
but-
Joy?
but I gotta tell you this. So yesterday, after you told me you couldn't find parking in Guanapera and Ocean,
Yes.
so I drove down there. And my God, I had never seen so many people. And you know, every one of them had their own handmade sign they were holding up. And that to me showed determination. And most of them was no king, no this, no that. I mean, unbelievable. And they were chanting, they were stopping cars from moving. I mean, it took me half hour to go through that section.
Yes. Yes, you know, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So many people, but you know, I mean, I feel sorry for Trump, and I realize that these people truly are the patriots, you know, who believe in democracy, and they realize that Trump is a, oh my God, worthless, stupid guy.
It is, yeah, it's
So
really, really
I
something.
feel sorry for him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, what if you give a parade and nobody shows up?
And so much
That's what
money they
happened.
spent. I mean, he thought he would be celebrated. And everybody kind of showing him a middle finger.
Right.
That's what they do when I drive my Cybertruck.
That's right. I'm glad you didn't drive it yesterday.
I don't drive it anymore.
No. But yeah, I mean, he was there to celebrate 250 years of the U.S. Army, and yeah, and he's behind these big, bulletproof.
Tanks.
Yeah, really something.
What a show off. I mean, the guy is a pure show off. Unbelievable. Anyway, I'm sorry.
This must be all interesting to you.
So, it's like because of the raids, the ICE raids, and I was an illegal immigrant for 5 years, so it's not an easy life.
Was it scary?
You have nothing. You have no social. You can't do anything. You can't really get an apartment or a car or even a decent job. I have 2 bachelor degrees, and I was cleaning Airbnbs. So it's not the life. People think they come here, they live a glamorous life, but really they don't. Like, they're here to do the jobs that nobody really wants to do, and they're nice people. So
Yeah.
And on top of that, she can't hide the fact that she's a foreigner. She has an accent.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah. There was a story today in the Los Angeles Times about how the fashion district
Yes.
has been a ghost town.
It's sad.
Nobody's there.
Everything's shut.
Yeah, they're
Fashion
afraid to work.
industry, in fact, this guy was really upset about that. So he's working on a project at his home. And the contractor who needs to go get some material from Home Depot won't go there.
Yeah.
He's scared.
Mhm.
So now, I mean, there's some industries because you don't realize this till it happens in your face.
Mhm.
You know, the economy of this country is run and supported by these immigrants who do all the low-level jobs, like picking up the fruits and gardening and construction and restaurant serving
And
cooking
hotels.
and hotels. I mean, yeah, white Americans don't want to do all that stuff. You know, they think it's below them. So these Mexicans got to do it. And then they scare the shit out of them.
Right. Yeah,
And they're not showing to work now.
right.
So the
Not-
whole place is getting deserted.
Not to mention that not every, but most of the names, the city names, is like a Spanish name.
Yeah,
Yes.
because this used to be,
Yeah.
you know, did you know that this whole area
What's
was part of Mexico?
yeah.
Yes.
So
I'm
we are
just learning
sitting,
that.
in fact, interesting part, we bitch and moan about immigrants, okay? Do you know who are the original inhabitants of this country?
The Indians,
The Native
the
Americans.
Native Americans.
They were the ones who really had this land.
Yeah.
Then these foreigners start coming from Europe. And then it became majority white. Now you know, whites are minority.
Yes.
I mean, at the university, now I started teaching a long time ago. When I started teaching, you could see the majority of your population of students was white Americans. Now it's minority.
Right. We are what's called a Hispanic serving institution.
Yeah.
And in fact, our campus, Stephanie, is built on Pavunga Indian land.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And so one of our professors from my department retired. So I became part of the RTP committee to recruit somebody. And believe it or not, for 5 years, we recommended the name of a person who was white American to the provost, and they did not accept him because we did not meet the affirmative action quota. So after 5 years, he said, I think I should sue you guys for reverse discrimination.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he was actually being discriminated.
Right.
And he was the most qualified candidate for 5 years. And we could not hire him.
That is interesting. Wow, that is something. So there's a saying that sometimes we save the best for last.
Right.
In my humble opinion, in this book of Wealth Score, I think one of the best chapters is chapter 8, which is where we are right now. And that's talking about generosity. And I know that, knowing you as I know you, that generosity is very near and dear to your heart. Why?
I didn't realize it till I was woken up by breaking my leg. And so I felt, this is what we call near-death experience. So when I was lying on the pavement under the motorcycle, I thought I died. And then I heard someone ask me, "Hey, are you okay?" I said, "Wait a second. If I can hear somebody, I'm not dead."
Maybe it was maybe it was St. Peter at the pearly gates talking to you.
So I felt so blessed to be still alive, and then taking me to the hospital. And at that time, I'm making a few $1 million a year, making a lot of money. And if anyone had stopped me and said, "Hey, where are you going?" I had no idea where I was going. All I was doing was making money. So I said to myself, "You idiot. This is what is called insanity. Because you're making money, but you don't know what you're going to do with it. Even the money you have, you don't know what you're going to do with it." So I realized that I was living a life of an animal. Now, I think I talked about animal once before in this podcast.
Yes.
So, men are animals, in my opinion. And I realized I was one of them.
In fact, we were just discussing this the other day.
Yeah. So I said, okay, this insanity has to stop. So I started thinking about life different than animals. Like, do you have an animal?
I do.
So, dog?
A dog,
A
yes.
dog. So this animal, since you got it, does the same thing every day.
Yes.
Eats, poops, walks, wags the tail, and that's everyday routine.
Yes.
What's the difference between an animal and a human?
I don't know what.
So as humans, we have the responsibility of improving our and others' life. Look at Donald Trump.
No, you look at him.
He's just like an animal, like a dog. He's been doing the same shit all his life. Hasn't changed. In fact, Obama described him that this guy only knows how to care about himself. Since he came down that golden elevator, became a candidate, he has not stopped griping. Even today, he's griping.
Yes.
I mean, look, he is the most powerful man in the world because of the title he has, the
Yes.
presidency he had. Then he had this other idiot, Elon Musk, who is the most wealthiest man in the world. And then in this front row of inauguration, he had lineup of these multi-billionaires, the richest people in the world, because he likes money. So he wants to associate and kiss their ass, like Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, Bezos. These are the people who have so much money, so he likes to be one of them. Kiss their ass. This guy is such an idiot.
Yeah.
So all his life has been about money. See that book there? It says Lucky Loser on the right.
Yes.
That book was written about Donald Trump. And it says this guy lost, it's about 2 inch thick, this big book.
Yeah.
Since his dad gave him money, everything he has gotten from anywhere, he has lost it. Obama left him a strong economy, he lost it. Biden left him a strong economy. In 30 days, he lost $6 trillion.
Right.
So this guy is a lucky loser from day one. And he hasn't stopped griping and worrying about how to take care of himself. That's it.
So, in other
He's
words,
like an animal.
so in other words, you would not consider him to be a generous person.
You kidding me? He's a worthless person. Now, on the other hand, I'm not a multi-billionaire. I have pledged most of my wealth to charities to help others. I support organizations like Precious Land, Long Beach Rescue Mission, Ronald McDonald House, Salvation Army, and there's one in India called Akshay Patra. They serve 2 million meals a day, fresh meals a day to school children. So these are the organizations I support. Now, these jerks have not done anything. Donald Trump had a charitable organization to help him, to steal money out of people. I mean, this guy is a worthless guy.
I think it was called Trump University.
Well, that was another one.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that anyone that Donald Trump has come in contact with, he has defrauded them or sued them? Every project that he did, all the subcontractors, contractors, after they did the work, he sued them for some fault rather than paying them. I mean, this is how he has some money left from defrauding and stealing from people.
Right.
But still, he's trying to be a rich man. He'll never be a rich man. You don't become rich by defrauding people.
You don't. You don't. Very true. And you're not only rich because you have money, but because of friends that you have, the things that you do to make the world a better place.
So you know what defines being rich, wealthy?
I do not.
Generosity. I am wealthy. You know why? Because I have pledged and given money to these organizations. You go ask these billionaires who were sitting in the front row in Donald Trump's inauguration and ask them, how much money have they given to anything? Nothing. They only take care of themselves. These are the animals I'm talking about. Those were all animals. Then you have Putin, Netanyahu, Kim Jong-un, Xi. These are all animals. There were a couple animals who were doing the same thing to their countries that these guys are doing, like Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi.
Right.
Did you know they were found dead in gutters?
I did know that. I
So
did know
what kind of a life is that to live like an animal? What is the money going to do?
that. Right.
If you not have generosity, a good heart, just this morning I walked up to the front and these kids at the front of
At the front desk, right?
said, Did you go to Starbucks? I say, yeah. I say, you want something? You say, yeah, can you get something? So I got them both Starbucks. Now, you know, I didn't spend much money to get a couple of Starbucks stuff, but the smile on their face was worth $1 million. You know?
Yeah,
So, a little bit of acts of kindness can give you big rewards.
absolutely. And that's what we talk about in the chapter. And that's why I say I think it's like one of the best chapters
Absolutely.
of the book and everything. A high generosity score, because we do always have a pre-test and a post-test in our chapters. A high generosity score indicates that you embrace a giving mindset and you recognize that wealth expands when shared. Very
You know,
important.
there's something, and maybe this is the reason I never figured out. When I was maybe 16 years old, I recall from my dad, he said, the more you give, the more comes back. I said, what a concept.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more you give, the more
you,
comes
yeah.
back. So,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. So, what makes up a generosity score in our chapter? Philanthropy and charitable giving, time and service, which is where I do my generosity part because I go around to different high schools and talk to them about journalism and community colleges and things like that. Sharing knowledge, acts of kindness, legacy and impact. All very important. And as you said, generosity is not only about kindness, it has profound effects on both the giver and the receiver because it enhances happiness, it strengthens relationships, it encourages financial discipline. All of these that we talk about in the chapter. It creates opportunities. Generosity opens doors personally and professionally. And as I said, it leaves a legacy. You know, you shape something for future generations. And then finally, how can you boost your generosity score? Make giving a habit, offer your time, give thoughtfully to organizations that you think are good and have the same belief system that you do. Practice small acts of kindness, just what you said. Teach generosity and use your skills to give back to others. Now, as you might imagine, there is a plethora of academic, peer reviewed research on generosity and its relationship to joy. I mean, there was so much that it was almost overwhelming. It really, truly was. Because this exploration of generosity has been a central theme in philosophical and psychological inquiries. The concept of joy is meticulously defined and measured to allow for empirical investigations. And as I've mentioned this person before, Dr. Martin Seligman, he always had this concept of what was called subjective well-being, SWB, in academia because we love acronyms for some reason. And there are three key dimensions. There is pleasure, there is engagement, and there is meaning. Those three together encompass the world of joy. And true happiness, he comes to the conclusion, true happiness represents a balanced integration of these three dimensions and it extends way beyond monetary pleasure. There is a measure that researchers use to measure joy, and it's called the Cantril ladder. Respondents evaluate their current life on a 0 to 10 scale, with 10 representing the best possible life. Where are you on that scale?
I have no idea, but I would say pretty high.
I would say pretty high. I would say pretty high. Absolutely.
Actually, I sometimes think, and early on in my life, I felt that I wasn't the smartest kid in the block,
And now look at you.
Well, actually, so I found a solution to my inadequate reality, which was to work harder. So I said, okay, if I'm not very smart, I can work smarter and harder and faster. Maybe they'll achieve the same results. And that's what really led to me and my success.
Interesting.
But more than anything, early on in my life, somebody asked me, I said, do you count your blessings? I said, not really. I said, try it. So every day at the end of the day, and this became a habit early on, to look at only the blessings, the positive things that happened that day. Forget about all the stuff people bitch and moan about, because I realized most of the people bitch and moan about everything. But there's no point in it. So I always learned to count my blessings. That led me to develop this habit of at least doing 3 acts of kindness every day, because all the blessings I had the previous day. So I had to somehow return that gift of God about blessings to act of kindness I did, and that changed my life. And I would say that that made me so successful in wealth that I could not believe myself.
Interesting. One of the subsets of joy is called altruism.
Right.
Altruism is a behavior that benefits another person or alleviates their distress without any foreseeable extrinsic benefit to the person.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, and as example, there's your 3 acts of kindness every single time. And like I said, I just had reams and reams of information here. It's just unbelievable. Gosh, I didn't even know where to. Okay, here we go. Generous individuals are nearly 3 times more likely to report being very happy on a daily basis and perceive their lives as very meaningful. Giving serves as a potent antidote to loneliness.
Wow.
And reinforces social fabric. Highly generous respondents consistently report greater satisfaction and enjoyment in their professional lives. Finally, generous individuals are more likely to hold a belief in the inherent goodness of others.
Right. Yeah, very true.
It is very true. Yeah. And as I said, there's just an amazing amount of research that's done. So I think to act the generosity portion of this podcast, I think we need to turn things over to the most important person here at this table. And it's not you, it's Stephanie. Stephanie.
I have a fun Father's Day fact. Ramjeet Raghav, and I hope I'm pronouncing that good, from India, is the oldest father on record. He conceived at 92 years old, which is crazy, right?
Yes.
Then he conceived again at 96 years old. He says that he lives a really healthy lifestyle. He eats
He's
really
still
clean.
alive?
I don't think he's alive, but he said he did it. This is the reason he could still conceive at this age was he ate clean. He didn't smoke or drink. He lived a healthy lifestyle. So,
Wow.
96 years
96. You're not even close to being there.
So I can continue?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, do you have energy to raise the kids after a certain
No.
age?
Yeah.
They're a lot of work.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
92 and 96.
Yeah.
96.
He shocked the world at 92 just to do it again at 96.
Wow.
Here's my
But did
question.
he have kids when he was younger?
I think so.
He
Yeah.
did. But that's fascinating.
That is fascinating. I'm just wondering how old the wife was.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, because I think women have an age.
Yes, they do.
An age
Yeah.
limit.
So, do you know the secret of her wonderful ideas?
I don't, but I hope you share that with me.
ChatGPT.
It takes a bit. I have to be specific, and then if it doesn't work, I have to say, "Give me another one."
But it still doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh.
She has these most fascinating facts.
I'm telling you, it's what makes this podcast. You and I are nothing.
No,
No.
when it finally comes to Steffi, that's where we have the
Once again, and I'll repeat this, we save the best for last.
absolute.
Absolutely.
Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Yes. Happy Father's Day.
Happy-
Happy Father's Day. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week on another
That's it.
Professor Joy podcast.